Very good morning everyone. Welcome to our 25th class on this current edge discussions. So in last two classes, first class we have done the basic distribution, basic features, how different species characteristics are related to the ecosystem they rely on. Second class we discussed around 20 plus species that is being in news, which something is recently going on regarding that species. Now we continue our discussion with next 20-30 species that is in news. So around 50 species we completely cover in the class. For next 50 species we will release this PDF materials. You can go through this material. Most these are highly factual information, so it is more important you read the material. Even after listening the class, you still have to read it 3, 4, 5 times so that only you can confidently answer in the exam. So we will release for the next 50 species, we will release the PDF materials in the Telegram channel or the website. You can download it from there. So let's continue our discussion. Next species in talk is Great Indian Bustard. So what is specialities of this? Heaviest species. Where it is being found? Gujarat, Rajasthan, this desert or grassland type of ecosystem it is being found. Why this is in news? Because there has been a Supreme Court verdict. What the Supreme Court said? This high power electricity transmission lines and towers that is being installed throughout this Rajasthan, that is creating so much of these birds will come and hit these high power lines and they are being dying over the years. So Supreme Court came out with a suggestion that most of the lines should be underground, not on above the ground, to protect the Great Indian Bustard. And what government recently in 2023, in last few weeks before, government came up with a draft regulation act, and in this it is being said that all electric lines below 33 kilowatt will be underground and above 33 kilowatt only those electric lines will be above the ground. And this, along with this, government is starting special conservation project like Project Great Indian Bustard, like project on lines of Project Tiger and all. That's the government. Distributed, it is distributed across Western India. Most of today's, even though in earlier times this was distributed toward the peninsular country, India, like from Karnataka to all these states it was distributed. But due to different human interventions, the population has been dwindling over the years. And today you can only find this species limited to Rajasthan and Gujarat. Small population occur in Maharashtra, Karnataka as well as Andhra Pradesh. It is a non-migratory species. Very important. This is not a migratory species. It is by looking at the Great Indian Bustard, there is a tendency to associate this with Siberian crane and all similar species, which are famous for migratory lines which they carry on. But this Great Indian Bustard is a non-migratory species. Biggest threat is hunting. Hunting is done in Pakistan and other countries. Hunting is mostly not done in India. In India, biggest threat is this electric poles, industrialization, and mining. All these are the threats to the species. IUCN status, it is critically endangered. Critically endangered means less than 250 species are only existing of this bird. Cities Appendix 1 protection is given. Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Schedule 1 protection, that is highest protection is being granted. Now let me ask one thing, why this species is having long legs? Can you associate anything with the ecosystem in which it's living? Why camels are having long leg? One reason is to escape the heat of the land. Camels are having long leg because it lives in this desert ecosystem. In desert ecosystem, what do you expect? High heat, ground will be high heat at normal days. So to escape this heat, it has longer length and this body will be above this length. Similarly, this is also existing in the Rajasthan and this grassland region. So two reasons are there. One is to escape the heat. Second is to catch animals from these wetlands, different ponds and wetlands. Even if it is the greater height water, it can stay there and all. So that's all about Great Indian Bustard. Now come to vultures population in India. What is specialty of vulture population? What is the recent trend that is happening? Like it is increasing in the recent past. But if you look at the broader trend from last 2-3 decades, it has fallen in great level. Why this happened? Because of kidney failure, because of diclofenac that is being, where this is being used. What is exactly the role of vultures? They are scavengers. That means they rely on dead animals to feed, or they feed on dead animal bodies. Now what this diclofenac does is, this is like a add-on given to cattle for increasing their growth rate, increasing protein production, milk production and all. Now when this is given to the cattle, when these cattle dies, and these cattle are being feeded on by these vultures. Now what happened is, the vulture's body doesn't metabolism, doesn't have system to break down this diclofenac. This lead to the kidney failure of this bird, and it will lead to loss of species. And due to this diclofenac, a considerable fall in this population of diclofenac has been recently observed. Reason means in last 2-3 decades. And due to this, the government has also came up with banning or strictly regulating the diclofenac, usage of diclofenac in cattle. So that is the basics of vultures. Vultures, where you found the most of the vultures in India? Most of the vultures in western parts of the country you found it. That is the hotspot of vultures. But India has a very extensive list of vultures. Around 9 different vultures are present in India, and different vultures are present in most of the different parts of the country. From Tamil Nadu, from southern parts of the country to throughout India, there is some kind of vulture population. But the hotspot of vulture population is western regions of the country, like Punjab, Rajasthan, all these countries. Rest basic data, different kind of vultures, what is their IUCN status. I am not reading it all. You can pause the video, read from here, or you can download the PDF and read the basic contents regarding vultures. Now come a very interesting, very interesting topic. Even I'm making the content, I was curious due to this. But that is muley bamboo. What is muley bamboo? What is specialty of muley bamboo is, it is simply a bamboo species that is from the northeastern part of India. Most of the India's bamboo species are northeastern part. So this is also a bamboo tree. It's a tropical evergreen species of bamboo from northeastern part of India. What is speciality of this is a fruit producing bamboo. Fruit producing means it is also something fruit like this will also be part of it. And still okay, that is also not that much of interesting. It is native to Northeast India, Myanmar region. It accounts for 90% of the bamboo forest population. Now, what is the interesting part of this muley bamboo is, this muley bamboo and this ecosystem it is subjected to, that undergoes through a phase or undergoes through a particular period called motam. What is motam or motam? Whatever this correct pronunciation. What is this? During like every 48 years, once in every 48 years or so, what happens is, these bamboos will create so much huge number of fruits, so much of flowering, huge level of flowering of this species is happen. Now when huge number of flowering of this bamboo happens, who eats this bamboo fruit? Mostly rats and other species, other small species come and eat this. Now their food is produced at a very large quantity. The number of rats being produced increases to a very huge level. Now when number of rats increases, the species which feed on these rats, like snakes, like other bigger predators, their population also increases. Now everything in this population increases, there will not be enough ecosystem to support this much of population of all these. Next year this bamboo will not produce this much of fruit. So what happens is, once a year it is produced at a very huge quantity. The next year will be a drought season throughout. All these extra species die out, all this agriculture productivity falls, everything the new that is being created after a very huge hype, everything falls in the next year. It will be like a famine year for this ecosystem. So this recently happened, motam of this muley bamboo. This is a very interesting feature. Why this is interesting is because you are creating a famine situation after creating a huge increase the productivity. So that is quite interesting, and it is also called rat flood. Like rat population increases beyond a number, that exactly is called rat flood. Then after the aftermath of it, famines kill thousands of, including people can also die, because agriculture productivity considerably falls after this. Phenomena of Mizoram, yeah, where it is native to Northeast exactly Mizoram maybe. Go ahead. Now the famous greater one-horned rhinos. These are always in news, one reason or the other. Some floods we see every year, so these rhinos are being impacted. Now recently, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has begun a project to create DNA profiles of all rhinos in the country. Now, largest and only rhino species, that is the greater one-horned rhino, it is restricted to the rare region in Indo-Nepal part of it. Most of the rhinos in which national park it is? Kaziranga National Park in Assam, that is restricted to most of it. But if you look at the range of greater one-horned rhino population, earlier range was extending from Assam to Pakistan. Throughout the Indo-Gangetic belt, this rhino population was there. But currently, only Dudhwa and few national parks in UP and Indo-Gangetic plain have this one-horned rhino population. Most of others, it is being extinct, you can say. Most of today's rhino population are concentrated on this Kaziranga National Park in the Assam. What else? Around 2,600 rhinos are one-horned rhinos are there. IUCN status is vulnerable city status appendix 1 protection is there, and wildlife protection as schedule 1 protection is there. That is not written in the material, you can add it, schedule 1 under this Wildlife Protection Act. Now status of different other rhinos, this is not that much important, but greater one-horned rhino that is native to India, and Indian government has so much projects like Save Rhino project. All these projects are focused on this protection of these rhinos. So greater one-horned rhinos, everything is important. Other rhinos you can go through this, pause the video and you can go through this, that's all. Sumatran rhino is critically endangered species. Next is purslane. What is purslane? It is a native to Indian subcontinent. It is distributed widely across continents, but actually a wild weed it is. Wild weed means it's kind of a plant species that grows like act as an invasive species, but this has so much of medicinal and health benefits associated with this. Leaf thickness, all these are being used for different kind of Ayurvedic and alternative medicine system. This has various applications. It is a hardy herb plant, requires relatively less water and soil nutrients and grows well in sunny climates. Known for various medicinal and other benefits. That's all. Next is Lantana camera. What it is? It is an invasive species. Next we have 2-3 invasive species under the list. It was introduced as an ornamental plant. You might have seen this at some places. You can look at the picture. This was introduced in India in 1800s as a ornamental plant. Then it started spreading, developing, like expanding throughout, and it becomes an invasive species. What exactly things you should note about invasive species? It is not a native species. It might have came from some other subcontinent, some other distant continents, and will be introduced as a part of human-made effect or natural some XYZ properties. And why every species that came from other continents is not an invasive species. When a species become invasive, when its growth rate is much higher than the natural growth rate of other species in the ecosystem. When this higher growth rate disturbs the balance of the domestic ecosystem, then we call that species as invasive species. Now this Lantana camera, it's a species of plant introduced here, ornamental plant. It's a woody shrub, small height, 6 meters height, it can grow up to, native to South America. Now water hyacinth, this is also very famous invasive species, free floating aquatic plant. You might also have seen this in many of these water bodies across the country. Sorry. So this is a free floating aquatic plant native to South America, but as a invasive in many parts of the world, including India. Despite its advantage, it is being planted as an ornamental plant because of its beauty and striking flowers. The flowers are very beautiful, that's why people still plant these flowers. But once you plant it, it's an invasive species, it will destroy the whatever the wetland ecosystem that is existing in that region. Another is Utricularia and Furcillata. What exactly is this? Pronunciation, you can go through it. What exactly this is? All these were invasive species from different parts of the country introduced to India. This is the plant which is mostly native to India, but this can act as an invasive species in other countries like Europe or American continents. So this is a research wing of Uttarakhand Forest Department discovered a rare carnivorous plant species named this Utricularia ursulata. Now, what is this carnivorous plant? What does it mean? It's eat insects or it digest insects. Now there are different mechanisms. Some have this flap-like mechanism. Some have very sticky surface where if insect come and sit on it, it will be glued into it. Now why the plants are doing this? Mostly those regions where soil is highly leached soil, highly drained soil, where there is no enough nutrients for the plant to survive by absorbing from the soil. In that region, the plants will adopt to other kind of mechanism, and one of these mechanism is carnivorous plant. It is a nutrient native. Plants are doing this for meeting their nutrient demands. Okay, and the name exactly you remember it. It is from Uttarakhand. It is a carnivorous plant. Go ahead. If you want to see the plant, you can go through it. Next is Leucaena leucocephala. What it is also called? Sababul. It is an invasive species introduced for food and fodder from India, and it's come from Mexico. This is the species. This is also very common in dryland ecosystems and all. You might have seen across Delhi also. Now Indian gazelle. This is also called chinkara. This is the species you can see here. It is found throughout India as well as in parts of Iran and Pakistan. IUCN status is near threatened. It is a small slender antelope. Almost distribution throughout the Indian subcontinent, you can say. Lesser florican, very important species. It is found only in India. Only 600 birds are remaining in the country. Palaudar National Park is abode of lesser floricans. They come from southern states to Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan. Density of the highest in this particular biosphere reserve. Conservation status, you can find it as critically endangered in IUCN, and it is considered as Appendix 2 species. Now we are discussing some of the alpine and tundra. Like so far we have been discussing. First we have covered the tropical rainforest species. Second part we have covering the deciduous and grassland species. Now we are coming into some of the alpine tundra species. Which all species are there? The most important one is snow leopard. Snow leopard is, what is the distribution of snow leopard? Throughout the Himalayas you can find it here. From the Arunachal Pradesh, Myanmar to Afghanistan, throughout the Himalayas is the range of it, and towards the central India, including Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan and parts of Russia, Mongolia also. So a huge range is there for snow leopard. Central Asia, Central and South Asia is the abode of this. In India, geographical range including all these states from Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, Uttarakhand, all these states where you can see Himalayas, there is home for snow leopard. IUCN status is vulnerable. It is Appendix 1 species. Wildlife Protection Act, highest level of protection. Schedule 1 protection is been granted to this. Red pandas. Does India have pandas? Red pandas India have. There are two kind of pandas, red panda and giant panda. Giant panda is the one black and white you see in the movies and all this. No, mascot and all. You find this, that is giant panda. Red panda is much smaller in size, and that is India is only having a natural home to red panda. It is in Singalila National Park. Launched program to aims release 20 red pandas in a period of 5 years. It is live in high altitude mountains of Nepal, India, Bhutan, Myanmar. These northeast high mountains are the abode of these eastern Himalayas. IUCN status is endangered. Appendix 1 protection. Wildlife Protection Act, Schedule 1 protection is being offered. This is the red panda. It's a much smaller species compared to giant panda, which is vegetarian, arboreal. Now, if you speak about giant panda, this is not too much important because this is not there in India. This is the normal panda which you memorize when you hear the name panda. It is endemic to China. and IUCN status vulnerable and cities appendix 1 protection is black-necked pigeon. This is important because black-necked pigeon pheasant was rediscovered after a period of 140 years from Ferguson Island off the coast of Papua New Guinea. So what you have to do is go and check the location of this, which ocean it is coming, where exactly it is coming, direction, all these basic things, geographical things you go and learn of this. Ferguson Island of Papua New Guinea. It is a large terrestrial pigeon, huge pigeon it is, endemic to Ferguson Island in Papua New Guinea only. IUCN status is critically endangered. Why it is critically endangered? Even it is discovered after 40 years and its location is limited to only one place. This is a very small island. On this small island only you find this animal. Bar-headed goose. It is a bar-headed, this is the species. Bar-headed goose, it was tagged in Mongolia in 2014. Like right now it was spotted in southern parts of India, like Kudankulam and Kadankulam Bird Sanctuary, Tamil Nadu National Parks or Wildlife Sanctuaries in Tamil Nadu, it has been spotted. It is a migratory species coming from Mongolia or Siberian regions to southern South Asia, including India. Winter migratory, most of these species coming from northern or southern Siberian countries are winter migratory species. Extremely large range and can be found in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, China, Mongolia, Myanmar, all these countries it is. IUCN status is least concern. Rhododendron. What is rhododendron? These are exactly flowering plants, small flowering plants, you call it as rhododendron. Now, Botanical Survey of India has published a new report titled Rhododendron of Sikkim and Darjeeling. Sikkim and Darjeeling is a board of so much different varieties of rhododendrons. So, showy clusters of large, brightly colored plants and many species ornamental plants are a part of this. It is an evergreen or deciduous shrub. Both categories it can have. You can see that 34% of India's rhododendron is coming from Sikkim and Darjeeling region. Where it is Darjeeling, which state it is? It is a part of West Bengal. West Bengal it is. So these are different varieties of the rhododendron which are among the threatened species list. Not pronouncing, you can pause the video and read this. Now three very important species, Mesotropis spelita, Ferritillaria cirrhosa and Dactylorhiza hattageria. Now what kind of question can come from this? What exactly are these? What these are? These are medicinal species which are found in Himalayas and added to a IUCN list of threatened species. Now each of these species, what are the characteristics? It is endemic to first species, that is Mesotropis spelita. It is commonly known as patwa. It is a perennial shrub endemic to Uttarakhand region. Leaves are used for treatment of bronchial disorders and pneumonia. You can see the species here. You can see the species in your next page. It is a critically endangered species. Second species is Dactylorhiza hattageria. This is also commonly known as Himalayan fritillary. It's also a perennial bulbous herb used for treatment of same kind of bronchial disorders and pneumonia, but it is IUCN status is vulnerable only. Third species is, you can read, it is more having broader range compared to other two species. You can read the other details. The point is, these are medicinal species found in Himalayas which are recently added to the IUCN list of threatened species. These are the three different species which we are talking about. Now we focus on some of the migratory species. The first one is great knot. Great knot, it's a very small bird, but if you look at how much distance it's covered, it's considerably huge distances covered. Around 9,000 kilometers it covers during this migration process. Now it has been recently observed, it is coming from Russia-Siberia region. It has been recently found in Kerala's coast. Breeds in northeast Siberia, Russia, wintering mainly in Australia. So from Siberia to Australia, southern continent, it is been going, and during the pathway, it stay at this South Asian regions, including India and Indian coast. Now it is found along coastal regions of Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh mainly. IUCN status is endangered. Humpback whale. It occurs in worldwide oceans. IUCN status is least concern. Rise in recently, why it is we are talking about is a rise in population has been observed in this humpback whales. It is one of the 4 species of baleen whales. It is a toothless whale. Baleen whales are mostly toothless whales. Now Indian skimmer, this is another migratory species. Around 250 Indian skimmers were sighted in Korinka Wildlife Sanctuary. It is also called Indian scissor bill. It is sighted from Chambal River in central India. Odisha, Andhra Pradesh is the major regions you can find this. This is the animal. It is categorized as vulnerable in the IUCN status. Population has been in decline due to habitat destruction and other issues. Next is spotted red shank. This is the last species which we are going to discuss today. Two tagged migratory species, a red shank and a whiskered tern. These all species, if something is coming, only that thing asked, these two names would be given and exactly asked what this is. So what is, these are migratory species that is recently spotted in India. That much only you have to remember from this, and this material, this image is given only so that you can connect with this and go through this PDF material. So that's the end of this. Spotted red shank is the rat species which we are going to discuss. So we have in last 3 classes has been allocated to species in use. We have covered around 50 species in detail. Now there is another 50 species that is in use. We are not discussing that in class. We will do it in, we will provide the PDF material of this in the group and this website. You can download it from this and go through it. All these are highly factual content. The only way to remember this is read it 3-4 times. Try to generate some kind of connections with the basic concept which I have discussed in the first class. Try to relate something of which the ecosystem with the species are living, and try to generate some interlinkages within this. Beyond that, you should read this multiple times so that you get a grasp over it. That's all for now. Thank you so much.